Hey, my dear, welcome to the live edition of Kathy Archer. I hope that you are able to sit through just a few minutes today to think about some things in regards to your life. What I want to do today is I want to extend a little bit on the blog I wrote. And if you follow me and you get my newsletters every week, you know that I do free webinars. Sorry for the wiggles. I'll stop doing that. I do free webinars, and what I've realized is that sometimes I think that Facebook Live is probably a better place to connect with you, and maybe in shorter sound bites. I know that you don't have a lot of time. I know that you are a busy lady, and I'm hoping that in this space of a little bit of time at lunch, we can get through some more detailed stuff and help you change some of the things that you're struggling with in your life. So what I want to do is I want to take the blog that I wrote and I want to go a little bit deeper on it today just to help you first understand it better perhaps, and maybe think about how it applies to you or how you can apply it to you. So I want to just read a portion of it because I think it's kind of sets the stage for today's discussion, and perhaps you haven't had a chance to read it yet because it just got released a couple days ago and you may not have had a chance to read it. So the blog is called Commit to Crafting Your Unique Personal Strategic Plan Now. Here's why. And I think that the first sentence says it very clearly. We develop strategic plans in businesses, and you've probably all got strategic plans in businesses. Unfortunately, many of them are sitting in binders on shelves that don't get looked at. That's not the kind of strategic plan I'm talking about. They're supposed to guide organizations in the coming year or two. But do you have one? Your own, I mean. Do you have a comprehensive strategic plan that is your map for your personal future? If not, then it's essential that you begin the process. And I've been talking about this in my last probably 6 blogs, I think, about the importance of doing this. And so this is a continuation of this conversation. And the first point that I mentioned in the blog, I want to get into detail here today. If you don't plan your life, someone else will. Companies are notorious for steering you to develop skills in an area that the business needs. If you're skilled on the front line and the program lacks a supervisor, guess who's up for promotion? Your boss may even send you on leadership training. It's not that they're not going to help you get into that position, but they're going to steer you where they need you. But is that what you really want? And it might be. But have you taken the time to think about it? Have you taken the time to strategically look at your career goals and how they fit with your life goals? And if you don't, you're simply going to be ushered in the direction of your organization's needs. So you need to be conscious about planning your life. Without that conscious thought, without sitting down and developing a plan that you're focusing on both in your position at work and as an individual in your life, I'm talking whole life here. You're just going to go with the flow. And someone else's tasks, agenda items, meetings, and assignments will fill up every minute of your day. You won't make choices because you won't have room to make choices. And your indecision will mean that someone else will rule your days, and that tends to leave you feeling a little bit like a puppet. Ouch. So that's the first thing that I talk about in this week's blog around why you need to develop your own plan. Why you need to step back and look at what am I doing? How am I getting there? What do I want? In businesses, we all get together, we sit in a room and we strategize and we write out these goals and we have agenda items attached to them and somebody gets assigned it and there's deadlines. That's kind of what I'm talking about you doing. And it doesn't have to be as rigid as that. It doesn't have to be as, formal as that. But it does have to be specific in some ways. It does have to be clear about what do you want? How will you know when you get it? What do you need to do to get there? When are you going to do it? And what things have to happen for you to get there? So think about that and think about how can you create that? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to set aside some time. And then you need to, think strategically about what you want in your future. And when you do this, you start to create your life the way you want it. Because if you don't, what happens is you tend to just respond to everybody else's needs. You feel overwhelmed because you've got a zillion to-do lists. The emails keep coming. The fires keep, demanding that you put them out. And you continue to sort of wait for the moment to arrive when you have time to do something for yourself. And I mean, this just isn't at work. Women are notorious for living our lives around everybody else and trying to fit us in the middle. The problem is that little crack in the middle never seems to show up. The problem is we never seem to find time to do the things we want to do. And it's always that someday maybe kind of thing. And that someday maybe keeps getting pushed further and further and further down the road. And before long, you're like, yeah, I didn't really want to do that anyhow. But you probably did. Now, I'm not saying that, and I see somebody's online. If you have questions for me, type them in. I think I can see them, but I have to just figure out the technology how. So feel free to either push the like button or type in a question, and I'll see if I can figure out how to answer it, because this is new technology for me, but we'll figure it out together because I think it's important that I'm here. I'm just going to look at my notes for a minute to see what else I wanted to say. So without conscious thought, we tend to feel like we have no choice, and what we struggle with is feeling frustrated. We feel like we're always responding to everybody else's demands. We feel like we're always, marching to somebody else's drum. And we're going to keep feeling like that until we stop and figure out what we want, set that as a priority, and make sure that it happens. And you all know this. If you go on holidays, the work world survives without you. If something happens at home and you have to travel for work, home survives without you. Might be awkward and there might be messes and you'll have things to clean up when you get back, but the truth is they do survive. And so if you decide that you want to go back to school and you have to fit studying in somewhere, and you put that as a priority, someone else might do the dishes for you once in a while. Someone else might go to the meeting that you need to go to, or maybe you'll just decide that it wasn't a meeting you needed to go to anyhow. It was one of those extras. So when you set the time aside to plan purposefully, then you're going to figure out where it is you need to go. I can look back. I was skipping through. I have the habit of skipping through journals that I used to have. I can look back in my journals and I can see when I was feeling like I wasn't in control of my life, when I felt like other people were dictating things, and I certainly wasn't on the path that I wanted to be on. Here's some of the comments that I made. How many days does one person have to go through this? I can't wait till this project's over. If only he would change and see what I need. What a rough day. God, I hope she quits soon. One particular staff who I wasn't enjoying working with. Or why can't I have my time to unwind and relax? No one ever gives me my time, right? So always putting it out there on somebody else, always blaming somebody else, always waiting for somebody else to give me the opportunity to take a break, to do training, whatever. I can also see when I started to shift and make plans where it came back to I felt like I was in control and I was moving forward. I felt at peace with my decision not to apply for the director's position. I had labored for weeks over applying for a position that was higher up, and it certainly seemed the appropriate thing for me to do. It certainly seemed to sort of follow my career path, but in my heart I knew that I didn't want to do it, and I had to really do a lot of soul searching and a lot of conversations with my husband, and at that time conversations with my friends and stuff to figure out, is this for me or isn't it for me? And at the end of the day I had to come back and just decide myself. It wasn't somebody else's decision. And when I did that, that changed things. Another comment I made, I can't believe how close I am to finishing my degree. It took me 8 years to finish my degree, course by course by course. But I made that decision. I chose to follow that. I chose when I was taking courses and made sure it fit in everything. And that's what happened for me. So if you have any questions, pop them in. I'm going to pop over to Facebook and see if I can see if there are any questions on there. I want to make sure that I'm not skipping out on somebody. I'm thinking it works here. Okay, don't see any questions. But here's your homework. I want you to set aside time to think about what you need to do to create a strategic plan, what you need to do to actually make this live. So I'm not telling you to do it at this point. I just want you to set aside some time to think about how it needs to be. And what I mean by that is, do I need like 3 hours of uninterrupted time to, sit out in nature and contemplate? Maybe you do. Is my best time to do it on a Saturday morning? Would I like to do it with my computer on my lap? Or maybe I'm, like me, a Sharpie kind of girl and a big flip chart paper. Maybe your sticky notes. Maybe you like to cut articles out of magazines. How is it that you want to craft this? What is it that you need to do to think about it? Maybe you need to, let people in your life know that you're going to set aside 2 or 3 hours to do this. But that's what your homework is. I want you to think about, what is it that I need to do to set aside time to start crafting my strategic plan? Because here's the truth. This isn't a 10-minute exercise. And that's often what women do, is I'll quickly write down some goals that I'm going to work on. This is bigger than that. This is really diving deep and thinking, what do I want both in my career and in my life with my family? What does that look like? What does it take for me to achieve that? What will I have to do to get there? And so when you put all of those pieces together, that takes a little bit of time. What I suggest is that you have, when you sit down to do it, is that you have, look at about 6 or 8 different areas of your life. Look at your relationships, your family life. How are things going, with your kids, your mother, your friends, that kind of piece. And then as well as with your partner, what's going on with my friends, my family, my personal life. What about, fun and hobbies and that exercise piece and what do I do that kind of, livens me up? Look at your health, both physical and mental health. What's going well for me health-wise? Where am I challenged and what do I need to work on? Look at your money. What do your finances look like, and what needs to happen there? Many people say, I can't change jobs, I can't quit jobs because of money. That's not entirely true. I've had many women go down a position. I've had women take year-long sabbaticals. I've had women quit their job. And initially the response to me was, I can't afford to quit my job. I can't afford to change careers. And they made it work. But they had to take a step back and plan it and strategize it before that happened. So finances, look at personal development, personal growth. What are you doing that's growing you or developing you or strengthening you? And for some people that's, training that they're taking, professional development. For some it's spiritual growth, that kind of inner development around their consciousness. Where are you at with that, and what do you need to work on? Your physical environment, what's going on around you? What does your house look like? Do you like the community you live in? Is your work environment the kind of work environment? What's happening? Some women are struggling with, my house is a disaster. I can't seem to get on top of things. Other people have, moved and they just haven't got settled or unpacked. Some people are in a community that they just really dislike for a variety of reasons. And want out but don't know how. So that's kind of that physical environment. And then, of course, look at your career. And this is the thing. We spend most of the time looking at our career. And what I'm suggesting is that's only one slice of the pie. You are a much bigger person. You encompass more than just your career. And so take a holistic approach to looking at your life and consciously plan it. And that's when you'll start to see things shift. So again, your homework is just set aside time to think about, what is it that I need to do to plan this life? What, to create this strategic plan, and when can I do that? Just set aside 5 minutes to contemplate that. And then you can start taking the steps forward. But don't just jump into it without sort of planning how you're going to do it, because I really want you to do this in a conscious sort of way. This isn't a haphazard activity. This isn't something you snap your fingers and it's done. It's not something you ask your girlfriend to tell you what it is, or your husband to tell you what it is you need to do. This needs to come from some really deep soul searching, where you look at what's important to you, what you need to do, what sort of hill you'll die on, where you want to be in 5 and 10 years, where you want to be in 3 months. And so that takes some time. So thanks for listening. Do your homework. Make sure you set aside 5 minutes today to figure out when am I going to do the strategic planning, and then let me know how it goes. And if you have any questions, pop them below. There's been, like I say, several blog posts that I've done about this. But the whole point is, if you don't plan your life, somebody else is going to plan it for you. And when you stop and plan how you want your life to go, that's going to put you back in the driver's seat. And that's where you're going to feel that you are back in control and not like somebody's puppet where you're just responding to everybody else's needs. I'm here to help you. Let me know what you need. Pop over to the blog, read those posts, comment on Facebook, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, ladies. Have a great day.